I bet you're watching this video as a tutorial on how to make a lightsaber effect and not to hear me talk. So let's get started. Here's the final result. Let me give you a list of what things you'll need in order to get this. A pole of some sort. I'd advise getting a thicker pole. Some bright tape. Could be yellow, could be green, could be red, whatever color you want. Bright color that really stands out. A camera of some sort. A computer that can run Blender. A brain would be nice, but is not mandatory for this project. Setup, all you're going to need to do is get the pole and put that tape you got on the top and bottom of where the lightsaber blade will be. It doesn't necessarily have to be the top and bottom, but you want it to be on the lightsaber blade itself, not where you'll be holding or anything like that. And that's pretty much all you need for setup. And film that. So what you'll do is you'll go wherever you're going to be filming, take the shot, swing the lightsaber around, whatever you're going to be doing with it. Do be advised, if you're moving it really fast, it's going to be blurred as you can see right now. It's going to be harder to track these points, which it'll make sense later on. If you go slower, it will be easier. Be sure when you're filming that you check the background. Make sure that the tape doesn't match the background color, which is a problem that I had. The background matches the color way too well. The tape matched the color of the trees, that the computer struggled to follow these points. Do be careful with the background. Make sure tape doesn't match the background. Film at a high enough resolution, because if you're shooting at too low of a resolution, like 480 or whatever, it might pixelate it too much. You won't be able to track those points. 1080p should be fine. That's pretty much the extent of the setup. Let's go ahead and get into Blender. First open it up, probably looks something like this. Now, I'm not going to go over how you move around and everything like that. That's just something that you got to learn on your own. So for right now, let's get rid of this cube and get rid of this light, and no, we can keep the camera. So what you're going to do is first go up to the little plus sign here, hit that, and go down to visual effects, and go ahead and add motion tracking. There we go. This is a lovely place. You guys are going to love this. It's awesome. So first you're going to want to go ahead and open up your video track. Okay, once you open up your video track, it's going to look something like this. I mean, I don't know. It probably won't look something like this because this is my video track. But anyway, you're going to want to go ahead and import it here. Now what you'll do is first thing, hit set scene frames. Basically you'll have the same amount of frames in Blender as you have in the film. You also want to hit prefetch, which basically kind of renders it, if you know what renders means. If you don't, no problem. Basically it just makes the computer happy. Now you're going to want to go ahead and zoom in on your tracking point here and be sure you're on frame 1. Go ahead and hold down, if you're on a Mac, Command. If you're on a PC, I believe it would be Control. I don't know though because I haven't done it, but you'll go ahead and just left click on that point. You'll go ahead and scale it up with S, and there you go. You now have your tracking point. Wonderful. Now you will just simply go here to track and hit this, or you could always hit Command T if you're on a Mac and Control T if you are on a PC. Go ahead and click this and it will start to track it. Now here's the fun part. As you guys can tell, the background matches the color way too well, so it's not working too nicely for me. Hopefully you guys filmed in a better location than I did. At points like this, it is better able to track it. Never mind, it is not better able to track it at this point. Alright, that was horrible. What you're going to want to do is set it up so that you got both tracking points. I'm not going to have you guys watch me do the whole thing because it takes way too long. This button right here under track to track the movement of that there point. As you saw, that worked beautifully for this one. Right back here, you go to the beginning and you watch. It's tracking the movement of that point. Wonderful. So we now have tracked both points. Your animation should look something like this. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Yeah, he swings it back. Yeah, boom, boom, awesome. All right, cool. Now you will notice for this one, at one point, the lightsaber tracking point leaves the screen. Well, that's fine. You just go ahead and line it up manually for every single frame, and then you can go ahead and continue tracking. Please do note that this version of Blender, this is 2.90.1, I believe. Yes, cool. Did have some glitches. There were a few points where I had it on the right spot and I'd set it there a few times and it still refused to keep it there. Blender moved it of its own accord. So if it's not working perfectly for you, I'd say triple check the tracking points. They could have moved of their own accord. You just need to fix that. I don't know what the problem is, so forgive me, I'm not a good teacher here. But anyway, so what you're going to want to do after you've got all this wonderful setup here and you're all ready to go, you will select both points, and you can select both of them by selecting one, holding down Shift and selecting the other. or you could simply just press A. Anyway, any of those works. You'll go to solve, you'll go down to geometry, and you'll hit link empty to track. Wonderful thing to do. Be sure that you hit set as background, so that way the background will be put as the background of your video. Okay, now we have all this stuff that we need to work with. So I hope you guys have some experience in navigating around Blender. I'm sorry I can't really teach you guys that right now because this is going to be a long enough video as it is. I'm coming back again because I forgot to tell you guys something. So go ahead and hit N, as I'll tell you later, to get this camera in the right spot. You're going to want to set the location for all of them, so you just click and drag on all and hit 0. Set the rotation for all of them at 0. Rotate along the x-axis 90 degrees. There you go, now the camera is in the right spot. You have now 2 tracks, and they look like they're in the exact same spot, and if you hit play, nothing is happening with them. Well, let's fix that. You go ahead and grab by pressing G and Y on the y-axis, slide it out, and voila, look at that. Now they're moved of their own accord to a different location, and what happens when you hit play? Wow, they're moving all by themselves. Well, it's because they're with the video. So now you have these what are called empties. Basically, they're just points that exist in the Blender world, tracked to those 2 tracking points. Wonderful. Now we want a lightsaber. So what do? Well, we simply add, well, first let's throw the cursor at this one. So you select it by left clicking, Shift S, and hit cursor to selected. You will now press Shift A and go ahead and go to armature and hit single bone. Just as a warning, your drop down might look a little different from mine here. I do have different add-ons and stuff like that set up, but you should be able to find armature and single bone. That should be just kind of a universal thing in Blender. Voila, we have a bone. Now, sorry, let me make that a little more visible. Nope, I can't make it more visible. Ah, there we go. Ha ha ha. All right, scale it down because you don't need it really. It doesn't need to show up. Go ahead and go to the edit mode. By going to the edit mode, you hit tab, or you can go up here and drop down, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead and say Shift D, copy it. All right. So what do? Well, let's select this guy and parent him to here. So you select first the bone, then the empty, Command P, and object. Boom. And now if you hit play, awesome, the bones are moving all over the place, but the problem is we want this guy to be moving with this bone, this empty, not following this movement. How do we do that? Well, it's pretty simple. Okay, so they're moving all over the place, but you want this one to match the movement of this point, not the this point down here. So what do? Well, you go back to frame 1, be sure you're at frame 1, select here, put the cursor to selected, go here, and again, selection to cursor, and selection to cursor. Voila. Now, you want this guy to be only matching the movement of this one. So you go ahead and go to the pose mode. You go to the pose mode by pressing Control Tab, or if you're on a PC, I don't know what the shortcut is, so you just go up here and click that. You'll go over here on the right. You'll select this bone, add bone constraint, and hit copy location. And you go ahead and click on this track. Voila. What happens now? You hit play. Oh my goodness, look at that. It is copying the location of that second tracking point. So now, if you watch the video, look at that. I've got 2 bones on the pole. This is wonderful. All right, now, that's not quite exactly what you guys wanted. So let's go ahead and make that lightsaber blade. What do? Okay, we go ahead and go to the object mode, go back here, put the cursor there, add what would be called a cylinder, and you go ahead and scale it down, go ahead and scale it down, and go ahead and scale it along the z-axis. And you probably want to mess around with this, make it the width you'd like. So for example, you want it a little bit thinner than that, grab Z, etc. Sorry for not telling you all the shortcuts as we're going along. Hopefully you guys are kind of following. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this lightsaber and you're going to pretty much align it for where you want it to be. So, you know, like right about, I don't know, somewhere in there. Go ahead and go in the camera's position. Alright, somewhere in there. That looks about right, I'd say. That looks good. That's good. All right, cool. So what you do is you'll select that. You will select the bones, parent it with empty groups. Or actually, let's try automatic weights. See what happens. Okay. And now you go ahead and go to the weight painting, and look at that. It actually might have worked beautifully. Not sure, but might be. Look at that. It worked beautifully. It worked exactly as I was hoping it would. So the automatic weight painting, set it up so that way this bone, which is bone number 1, has maximum effectiveness. It affects it maximally, the lightsaber down here. And bone number 0.001 affects the lightsaber blade up here. So basically red is where it affects and blue is where it does not affect. So what does that mean? Well, let's show you. You go to the object mode, you hit 0, and you go ahead and hit play. Well, will you looky there. Now, there's a few points that you guys are probably noticing. Like, wait a second, Nick, look at this. Right about in here. Wait a second. Lightsaber blade is not covering the stick. Lightsaber blade is not covering the pole. And in fact, if you watch carefully, it gets really thin here and completely doesn't cover the pole almost at all. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is the bones need to be rotated. This is the manual setting, and forgive me, I do not know the best way to do this. This is my own version of the tracking lightsaber. If you guys want to come up with a better one, well, I bet you there are better ways to do it. So I'd say good luck to you. But for me, go to the pose mode, select all, press the period button to go to individual origins, so right down there. Go ahead and select this fancy little dot. And go ahead and hit I lock rotation. Now you're going to go ahead and make sure that that point showed up. It did. So you'll hit play and you'll say, okay, that looks about right. But then over here it doesn't. So what do? Let's rotate it to the left. Voila. Looks better. Except down here it still doesn't look quite right. So what do? Go ahead and just grab it, move it over. And check back here, be sure it looks fine. Good, it does. So then you go ahead and select them all, hit play, and you guys can mess around with this. Again, I won't make you guys watch me do it for the whole thing. Now, once you have all that set up, you're pretty much ready to go. All you need to do is add a lightsaber texture to this, because right now it looks like nothing. Actually, it's really kind of sad. So what do? You go over here to the textures, hit new, call it whatever you want, lightsaber. Go ahead and choose whatever color you guys want. You can have a pink lightsaber, you can have a blue lightsaber, a yellow lightsaber, a green lightsaber, a red lightsaber, a darker blue, whatever. Just choose whatever color you guys want. I'll do red for the sake of this tutorial, even though I did blue for the video you guys saw. You'll just go ahead and drop that color down here, so now it's glowing a little bit, and you will go ahead and hit the value. You can bump that up, or if you wanted to preserve the dark color, you can simply up the alpha. Probably about 10 would be good. Now, if you guys want to get really creative, you can go into nodes and stuff like that, and that's actually what I did for the video that I showed you, but we don't necessarily need to get that creative, and it didn't really have that awesome of an effect that I want you guys to do it. Like, I mean, honestly, it's not really worth it. So if you watch, now you have a lightsaber. Alrighty, I forgot one thing to include in the video, so I'm adding this afterwards. You guys want to activate and deactivate your lightsaber, of course you do. So what do? Well, we go ahead and select this lightsaber blade. Go to the edit mode by hitting tab. Go ahead and press N, as in Nick. Go down to animate and select points. Now, if that is not an option for you, you're gonna have to go to edit, preferences, and go to add-ons and type in animal and enable this one right here, animate all. Go ahead and hit save and close it. Now once you've done that, this should pop up. You'll go ahead and click points. At frame 20 or so, you will press insert to insert a keyframe, and at frame 1 you will go ahead and grab this guy here, all of these points. So be sure you grab all of them. So go back to this so you can see you want to grab all of them, not just the front ones, and go ahead and drag them all the way down to here. and hit insert. Now, when you go ahead and exit the edit mode, you hit play, you got that lovely thing. Now, the problem is, as you probably noticed, it goes out to the side and then up. Now, I can't exactly understand why it does that. So what I just do is manually go at frame 10 and again, just pull it down a little bit, hit insert. And voila, it kind of fixed the problem. It's not perfect, but hey, you know, for a free tutorial, it's not bad. And you know, it's not perfect, but it'll do. It will do for an unprofessional project, and maybe I'll update this video later and show you guys if I figure out a better way to do it, how to do it that way. So we just need one more thing, and that is set up the compositing. Once you have rendered it, you will just simply have the lightsaber blade on its own, and that's not what you necessarily want. So what do you want to do? Well, you want to be sure you go under Eevee. Cycles is not worth it for this kind of an animation. Be sure you enable bloom. You don't necessarily need to enable these other things. I would recommend enabling motion blur because that gives you the wonderful blur like that. So that way the lightsaber looks a little bit more like a real lightsaber. I'd recommend enabling motion blur. For the compositing, it's actually very simple. I know this might look complicated. Don't worry, I know absolutely nothing about nodes, so if you guys are a beginner, you're fine, don't worry. First, you're going to have the render layers. When you first open this, it's going to look like this. All the rest of this stuff is going to be gone. You're just simply going to have these two things together. Well, you're going to first want to add a glare, because who doesn't want the fog glow on your lightsaber? Sorry. And to add a point, you simply hold down Shift A and hit search and type in what you're looking for, because you have to have that. Next, you're going to want a thing called alpha over. And what does that do? Well, basically it allows you to have a background behind your lightsaber. So you'll plug the render layers into the bottom one, and you will plug the movie clip, which you will find down here. You go ahead and hit open and grab your movie clip like that, and then simply plug it in to the top one. Then you will plug this in there, etc., etc. You're good to go. There's only one thing that you guys need to do, and that is jump over here to this, go to film, and enable transparent. At that point, you guys are pretty much good to go. You can go ahead and set your output, and yeah, hit that fancy render animation. I'm not going to tell you guys how to do sound effects, because after all, why? No, honestly, you guys are going to have to do that on your own. I use Final Cut. Not everybody has that one. You're welcome to use any program. You can even use Blender to add sound effects. That's not part of this tutorial. This is simply showing you the motion tracking. Hopefully you guys like that. Hopefully you learned something. If you didn't, I'm sincerely sorry. But if you did, please like the video, post a comment or whatnot. And yeah, enjoy your day, and good luck blendering. You actually, here, never mind. Sorry, just go like this. Oink. Nope. This. Oink. 0, I said. You can't go to 0. Ooh, what is this doing? Alright, let's do this again. Yep, I got it exactly backwards. Alright, cool. So, since it's backwards, let's fix it. That was really dumb.